Hi everyone, welcome to my talk. So my name is Ashley and I'm a PhD student at the University of Birmingham, and I'm part of a research group led by Professor Eva Dabrowska, and as a group we research language acquisition and attainment. Today I'm just going to give you a little background about my research, but I'm going to talk more about how I move my research online rather than my research itself. So my research investigates whether there is a relationship between the speed in which children automatize a complex cognitive skill, and we use the Tower of Hanoi puzzle, and language learning. And we're combining two theories. So we're combining the skill acquisition theory and the usage-based model of language acquisition. And in my research, I'm investigating two groups, typically developing children and children with developmental language disorder. So why did I move my research online? I think the answer to this is obvious. The challenge I faced was obviously the pandemic. I received my ethical clearance in March last year and was really excited to get going. My research design was me going into primary schools and doing my research with children roughly 7 to 9 years, but had to go back to the drawing board and think, what to do. We came up with the solution of moving our research online eventually. I think for some time we were unsure how long it would be before schools reopened, but these answers were not forthcoming. I did actually get into schools and then had to stop, so it was a bit of stop-start for a while. But I was designing a task on another platform, and I happened to go to the Be Online conference last year, and there I was introduced to Gorilla, and decided to move the design of this task onto Gorilla, and had some amazing support from the team at Gorilla, and special shout out to Will Webster. I was also very fortunate to win a British Psychological Society postgraduate rapid research grant, and this helped me with some scripting consultancy. I don't script myself, it's something I think I really need to learn, but you don't have to script to use Gorilla, and that is the joy of it. We decided to move my research online, but for myself as the researcher to be present. So very much in line with the talks that you've just heard, I guided the children through each of the tasks. I resubmitted my changes for ethics approval, and then I recruited my participants. So all in all, I recruited 101 participants, and I did my research via Zoom over 3 sessions. So I mentioned to you that we used the Tower of Hanoi puzzle to measure cognitive skill learning, and my supervisor and I decided very much that we wanted to use a physical puzzle, so this is the physical puzzle, for children. So we decided to post every child that took part a puzzle. And this is exactly what the puzzle looked like. They received it in this lovely box, wrapped in a ribbon. And we said to parents, please, please, please don't open the puzzle before the first session. So I would meet the child on Zoom and they would unwrap a little present, which was really fun for them. And then I would give them instructions as to how to do the task. The task itself, I'll just show you this while I talk. The Tower of Hanoi, if you're not familiar with it, we used 4 discs of the puzzle, and the job for the child is to move the 4 discs from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, but they can only move 1 disc at a time, and they can't put a larger disc on top of a smaller disc. And it's ideal for measuring cognitive skill learning because you measure the different stages as the child progresses through the puzzle. And it's a tangible puzzle. It's really fun for kids to keep them engaged and keep them motivated. And it's got a recursive structure, so they've got to keep sub-goals in mind. And we also used a secondary task to measure any interference effects and to see whether children had really proceduralized the solution to the puzzle.
This is basically like
the next 2 sessions, you'll probably be very familiar with these, so I won't read them out. We used a narrative task, an expository discourse task, and various language measures. So looking at grammar, vocabulary, recalling sentences, and then cognitive tasks. We used Ravens. 2 tasks you may not be familiar with is the backwards color span task developed by Nick Richards, which is like backwards digit span, but using balls in a tube. And the task I designed on Gorilla, which is embedded triplets, it's a statistical learning task designed on an original design by Archullian Simpson. So these were 2 separate sessions that I ran again on Zoom. So my tips and thoughts about moving your study online, ethics is obvious. You've also got to think about the task demands when you move your tasks online, especially with working with children. And this is the length of the tasks and how difficult they are. Does the researcher need to be present? So in my case, I was, and I could guide the children through each of the tasks. But if you're not going to be present, then really clear instructions. Again, this has been touched on, but for me, parents and carers as co-researchers was absolutely invaluable. Parents were really on board with the research and really interested. So they helped me do things that I couldn't control over Zoom, like the environment, keeping the environment quiet, keeping children engaged online. There's lots of things you can do to keep children engaged. I did send stickers and reward charts. My colleague Magda designed avatars with children just at the beginning of the study. And again, as I said, rewards like sticker charts. We obviously compensated children for their time. And as people before me have said, pilot your study extensively. So I piloted my study in person and then again online when I moved it onto an online format. Things to bear in mind: do you need any specialist technology? I was advised to use a digital visualizer, and it was absolutely invaluable for my research and to help me share things on my side through screen share. Do you need participants to wear headphones? Also think about their access to technology. Some families might only have a mobile phone in the house. So do you need to specify whether your tasks are done on a computer? Can they also run on a tablet? Wi-Fi stability, you've obviously not got much control of, but I did have this occasionally where sometimes we would have to stop a call and restart, but it really was not a major issue for me. I recruited online, so I recruited through Facebook, through specialist groups, through Twitter, through word of mouth, through groups like Children Helping Science, and it was very successful for me. There is obviously systematic bias. You're reaching a much wider group of participants, but perhaps you can't control who decides to take you up on your study. I've mentioned that. The other joy is you're not constrained to the school day. So I literally did my research for 7 days a week. I did whenever participants could meet me is when I would meet children online. Scheduling multi-sessions, I didn't actually have any dropouts. I was very fortunate. All children came to all 3 sessions. And I also used something, an online scheduling system, which would send participants a Zoom link and a reminder for each of their sessions. And I found that really helpful. So just in conclusion, we are continuing with our online development. We've now moved the Tower of Hanoi puzzle onto Gorilla. Thanks again to Will Webster, who's helped us program this onto Gorilla. And at the moment, we're using it with teenagers and with adults, so not yet with children. But as a general closing, all of our studies in our lab are now running on Gorilla. It's helped us to continue our research during the pandemic, and we can reach a wide range of participants. It's amazing. It helps us save time. We collaborate with each other and with other researchers at other universities, and it's really helped us all gain a wide range of new skills. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. There's a quick question about a socioeconomic status. How did you match patient groups for that? So this is from Kirsten Abbott-Smith, who's found that it's less of a problem when you're testing in schools because there's often more variety in the schools. But if you have a volunteer basis, middle-class parents tend to be more likely to volunteer. How have you kind of navigated that? Oh, you've hinted at this already.
Yeah, I did hint at it. I think, to be honest, this is where I hinted at the systematic bias. I think a lot of parents who will take part in your study are perhaps parents who are quite motivated for their child to do this, and they help the child to be motivated. And I do agree, it's a difficult thing to control for, and less of an issue if you're doing in-person research in schools. It is a slight worry. You try as hard as you can to reach as many people as you possibly can, but it's not always possible.
And going forward, hopefully, we're not always going to be in a situation where it's not possible to be doing things in school. So maybe a blended approach could be really valuable in the future. Thank you very, very much, Ashley. And remember, you can keep asking questions in the Q&A, and Ashley and the other speakers will pick up on that.